What's up, guys? Welcome to Newswave Week in Review. It's our Saturday show where we go back throughout the week, look at all the different topics we talked about in each Newswave, and then pick out some comments that you guys left for me, and we'll kind of respond to them and talk about any of the topics you may bring up, or really points of view in this case. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Now, we do have Spawncast later on tonight, so make sure you guys are set up for that. That's 9 p.m. Eastern Time. I'll have a link to the page you can go to and set a reminder, and if you have that bell clicked at the bottom, it should notify you when we go live for the Spawncast. It's going to be a lot of fun tonight. Got some good guests and a couple of good topics I think people are going to be very interested in. But for now, guys, let's get started. Monday, we talked about the leaked gameplay footage for God of War that shows a much slower combat system that veterans of the series are definitely not used to. The game also appears to have an RPG system in effect where you level up health, strength, and weapons. John Alvarez says, knowing what God of War was sort of turns me off from the new one. Makes it feel like they're just pandering to different crowds with the Souls-like combat and Last of Us-esque looking story. Just doesn't feel right to me. Now, this is certainly the risk that they had to take. If they're going to go in this direction, I do think, as I've seen a lot of people talk about, the God of War series was getting kind of, the combat, the look of it was getting a little stale. It was something that was really formed on the PS2, even on the PSP at the time, and people really liked it then, but you can tell really the direction that gaming has gone, where a lot of people like kind of a slower story-driven type game. It was time to change up the series with something new, right? I mean, like, look at Breath of the Wild, for example. Completely went off track from what Zelda has generally been used to with recent offerings, right? They wanted a completely different direction, and it worked. It was probably, honestly, as a lot of people point out, Breath of the Wild was more akin to the original NES Zelda, but of course they went to more of a formulaic, go to these set dungeons in this set order, and, well, then you finish the game. But I like what they did with Breath of the Wild, and you have to give this God of War at least a chance. As people who are veterans of the series and know what it was like, where it was kind of almost like a button masher style game. Sure, they had combos, but for the most part, you're just hitting buttons over and over again till all the enemies in front of you are just gone, and then you move on. In this case, though, I like the idea. I really do. I think it's going to be a really fun game. It's going to be a different look for the series, and I think the story is going to have a much bigger influence on what you're doing in the game than what it has prior, right? Sure, there was a story, but most of the time you're waiting to get to the next boss, so you can do all this really cool, quick-time events where you're just killing all these gods and everything, and it was so fun to do. I look forward more so to this kind of behind-the-back, slower kind of feel. Yeah, sure, you say it's like a Souls, or even the story kind of being more like Last of Us. I think Sony likes that look, likes that idea, and then they've injected it into their God of War series. I'm looking forward to it. I really am. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and again, I wanted to see a change of pace for the series after it kind of started to fall off a bit. And I think this is it. Tuesday, we went over UK sales for Kirby placing near the top of the chart, being the best launch in the UK in Kirby's storied history. The Atari box made its debut at GEC, where it was renamed the Atari VCS ahead of pre-order information. Mohammed says, what kind of games is the Atari box going to have? Because I don't really have any interest in it at the moment. And that is kind of the issue. One of the big obvious issues. What games, what exclusives are they going to offer people that makes them want to jump in? Because right now, it seems like their exclusives are games that people have already played prior on older Atari flashbacks or older Atari systems. They keep pointing at that. I mean, they have an entire controller just for those games, but keep in mind, they also have a controller that looks very much like an Xbox controller. So you figure you're going to be playing some other games that need that type of controller, which I would hope they have something figured out. I mean, I'm not really sure what IPs they could pull from themselves, but they have to make in some deals with third parties. Really, I know it sounds like obvious, but things like Fortnite and Minecraft should be there. I think Fortnite would run on whatever they're putting in there. It's running on cell phones now, like, come on. And obviously Minecraft should be on everything. It's just something that could help pull a market, but they're asking for $250 to $300 to get into this environment, this ecosystem with the Atari box or Atari VCS right now. So we'll see, but I mean, honestly, the games generally are what pull people in, but the biggest thing that you cannot take a misstep on, and the Wii U showed us this, is the marketing. You could have some of the best games out there. The Wii U had some great games. Didn't sell well, though. The marketing was to blame, and I think right now Atari is having some serious issues telling people who it's for and what it does. Because we don't know much of anything about this. People stood right in front of it at GDC and still had no idea what was going on with it because they wouldn't tell them. So I don't really know what to tell them here other than hopefully they have some kind of good marketing strategy for this thing when we get closer to pre-order, because if they're having people pre-order for this thing and we don't know what is going to be in it or what it's going to do, I don't know how it's going to succeed.
Or it just
how much
seems
will
like
it cost?
No, we don't know.
When will it come out?
We don't know.
What games will it play?
I don't know.
Wednesday, we went over the Nindies Direct that Nintendo held, showing off several new indie games that are scheduled to release later this year. Ubisoft was also in the news after making a deal with Tencent to help them stave off Vivendi and their attempt at the hostile takeover. R. Potter 16 says, "Wow, so much hate for Nindies. We finally have a Nintendo that is curating a diverse selection of indie titles, and everyone is mad that they wasted time or it's just more ports. The presentation was 10 minutes. It didn't really waste your time, just your hype, assuming you were hyped about a Nindies presentation. And of course, they are all ports. Most of the tools for indies are mobile or PC specific, and it would be a waste to not put it on the platform you developed for." So whenever Nintendo announces these things, I think people see them as it being the next big Direct. Even though they told us it's gonna be all indies, we saw it last time. Although I will say their Nindies presentation, the first one they did last year, was definitely better as it closed out with Travis Strikes Again, and they had some pretty good announcements there. Things like Golf Story, like I said, got at least a release window. They were missing a lot of games, things like Morphe's Law. Of course, we know Hollow Knight wasn't going to be there, but that would have been a good one to have there, even though they said they'd share more information later this week, and they kind of didn't, which we're going to go over in Newswave on Monday. But here's the thing. I think a lot of people get themselves hyped up for any Nintendo event that happens. Even though it says Nindies or indie games, people were still asking if there would be like a presentation for a Smash Bros character there. People were asking if there was going to be Fortnite. Fortnite, at this point, is the furthest thing from an indie title. It's not even close now. It's one of the most popular games online currently. Like seriously, it now makes more money than PUBG does by a good bit. People were releasing statistics, and this thing makes a lot more than PUBG now, and that's just because of the way that their business model. It's a free-to-play style game, and then there are things you can buy into when you're in it. That means that they're going to have a massive player base. This is what I'm saying AAA companies should be doing. Looking at their games as more of a way to get more people in, and then you can hit them with things in the game to buy. People love Fortnite, even though there's a lot of things you can buy with real money in the game, because it's free. You can just buy in. You don't have to buy in. You can get in for free, and then you can buy into other things. But that's what I was thinking AAA developers should be doing. They just don't want to do it. And in this case, all right, so the Nindies presentation, I thought it was good. It wasn't great. I think a lot of people just hype themselves to the moon sometimes, and then they get slammed back down to earth when it just doesn't work out. But they showed a lot of games, some that were actually timed exclusive, or they're exclusive to the system for the foreseeable future anyway, or it's launching first on the Switch. It's just, when you go into these presentations, don't expect Smash Bros. Don't expect Fortnite. Don't expect these bigger games. Expect the smaller, creative games, and kind of go into it with an open mind, because indie games are there to give really creative ideas to some of the bigger guys, but it's these companies that are really pushing innovation in gaming along, so you have to at least give them a chance when you see their game. Thursday, we looked at Kirby sales in Japan that eclipsed over 200,000 units in its first 2 days on the market. We also went over a rumor that says Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 is getting a remaster, but it will be missing its multiplayer mode. Vibashah says, "What's the point of COD MW2 when there is no multiplayer?" Honestly, I have no idea. I know people like the campaign, but I remember the Modern Warfare 2 campaign being like 5 or 6 hours long. I thought it was fun. It's a good campaign, don't get me wrong. It's not a lot of game though. That's the thing. A lot of people would jump into that game. They might have played a little bit of multiplayer or the campaign, but a lot of people just turn around and jump right into multiplayer. Some people just skip the campaign completely because all their friends are playing multiplayer. So I don't really know if they're expecting a lot for this game when it's just the campaign. $20 at least helps it. It really does, because a $20 campaign is something some people might want to jump back into to play in, 4K resolution and everything, or maybe it does come to the Switch and it's a portable experience. Some people might have been like, I missed it, so, I'll get it. Or they might just be curious to see how it runs on the Switch, but you're missing that multiplayer mode. Some people have said that they are thinking they might release the campaign first, get some sales out of it, and then, oh look, here's the campaign, or the multiplayer that you can have attached to the campaign, and it's a separate buy-in for $20. Or you can just buy the multiplayer separately. That would be funny. I think it's a good strategy for them, and they might do that. But really, they're kind of leaving a lot of money on the table, leaving this multiplayer mode out. Because I think they could. It sounds crazy. I think they could have resold the whole package for $40 remastered, and I think they would have actually got quite a few people to buy in, because Modern Warfare 2 was a good game. I know a lot of people, some people say it wasn't. I actually liked Modern Warfare 2 a lot, and I just have a lot of memories of my friends and I playing quite a bit online. So the fact that there's no multiplayer that pretty much makes Call of Duty worth buying is just weird. Omega Metroid 93 says, do not skip out on Ys, guys. It's a fantastic game from a fantastic franchise. Ys 8 is going to be an interesting thing to follow on the Nintendo Switch. It was hard enough to get Falcom to put this game on there. People were saying Nice America had to kind of beat him over the head to make that work. It's going to be interesting because I don't know if Switch fans realize this or not. The Ys series is actually a very good series. It's been around for a while too. We're talking like old school Windows XP. People are playing this thing. So I would look into Ys 8. It's a good game, critically acclaimed. It's coming to PC as well. Maybe it releases on the Switch and the PC at the same time, or maybe this is one of those strange occurrences where the PC version gets pushed back beyond the Switch version. But this is a chance for, I think, the Nintendo community to really step up and put some time, put some purchases into a game that really Falcom probably didn't want to bring over in the first place. So not only could you really put a lot of confidence in Nice America, for example, with these Ys games, but you could turn around Falcom on the Switch. They're going to be looking for another place to go with the Vita pretty much completely dead just now, about now. So they're going to look into another portable system, and I think the Switch is the one they want to look into, but they're kind of stubborn, as we've heard. So if you want to convince them, let's say you just have a Nintendo system, maybe you want to convince them otherwise. Look into Ys 8. It's worth the money. It's a good RPG, as a lot of people have said. It has plenty of time you can put into it. And honestly, if this is a game that does well on the Switch and Falcom sees it, they could have a complete 180 on the situation where they're like, we're mostly PlayStation people. And they might all of a sudden be like, oh, the money is with the Switch, so we're going to start putting games on the PS4 and on the Switch. Of course, if you're not an RPG person, don't just throw money at it to throw money at it. But if you like some of the RPGs, like maybe you like the old school kind of Final Fantasies, not really the newer ones don't play at all like Ys, but maybe you like the old school Final Fantasies, right? Yeah, honestly, look into it because you probably end up liking it. Finally, on Friday, we talked about the Smash Bros. Invitational that will take place at E3. Nintendo announced on Twitter that a tournament will take place at E3 for Smash Bros. On the Switch, leading us to believe this game is nearly complete. Enrique says, honestly, how much of a difference at its core can Smash be from previous iterations? The only huge difference was between the jump from N64 to GameCube due to graphics and mechanics. Every game after that was very similar outside of characters and stages being added or taken out, as well as tweaks to physics and input response. Just taking the Wii U as a base, adding more characters, stages, and a subspace adventure mode would be enough to call it a new game. Maybe improved graphics as well. Also, maybe the fact that they are unveiling it for a tournament E3 will indicate that it's closer to Melee with regards to input and physics speed. I just hope that they don't take out any of the Wii U characters, add missing characters, and add new ones. That would make it complete and not lacking in anything. I also feel we will see it in September. So you agree with me that we probably will see it alongside the online service. I think we're going to see it within a very close proximity of that online launching, absolutely. I think the online and Smash Bros. Were pretty much designed in tandem, and I think Smash is going to use that heavily. But as for really having to create new Smash Bros. Over and over again, one, I think Sakurai is getting to the end of his rope when it comes to designing Smash Bros. Games, and two, I don't know if we really need new Smash Bros. Consistently. I'm sure the tournament community can speak on this better than I can, or competitive Smash players, but I would say after Melee, you're probably right. A lot of people didn't like the Wii version though, and the Wii U version kind of brought it back around for tournament play. That's why we don't really see the Wii version in tournament play as much as we see Melee and now the Wii U version of Smash Bros. But still, I do think the Wii U, they could probably continue that game onward and just continue to add characters and have this massive roster. You know, that's the big thing. People want more characters. People are missing things like Ice Climbers, for example, right? I think Ice Climbers could make their way back into the Switch, by the way. But I think really you don't need to keep designing a new Smash Bros. Over and over again. Just build off of the version you have, and people didn't like the idea of games as a service for it, but listen, it's a game that the base, I think, is evolved to the point where there's not much more you can do. Instead, focus on adding new characters and just balancing it constantly. That's about it. Like, you know, nerfing some things, strengthening others, and really just working on the mechanics rather than try to rebuild an entire game from the ground up over and over again. You know, get the single player in there and just make it a big game overall, and kind of work with the tournament and esports community to build a good Smash Bros. And keep it alive. Really, every time a new system comes out, you can just release the next version, right? That's basically that version with all the characters up to that point, and then you continue to add characters. We can get to a point where it's like a 100-man roster or something insane, right? That'd be pretty cool. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for our Newswave Weekend Review. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, guys. It really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave a bunch of comments down below about everything we talked about today. Whether it is God of War, are you excited for it? Are you looking forward to picking it up, especially after seeing the gameplay? Or has the gameplay kind of turned you off of God of War and you really did like the old school, the camera's way zoomed out and you're just smashing everything and hitting all the buttons and everything's blowing up in front of you? Or maybe you like the slower version of this. What do you think about Smash Bros. At E3 with Invitational? Do you think that this means that, the game's probably done? Is that what you're thinking? Like, by the time E3 comes around and people are playing a tournament, it's pretty much ready to go, and they're going to outline the online alongside Smash Bros. In some sort of direct, right? Maybe the direct will have Smash and the online, and they're showing you how the online works by showing Smash as the example. I think that's what we might see. Also, what do you think about Kirby's sales being pretty good overall? Looks like the little pink puff is still pretty popular. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll see you later on tonight for Spawncast. That's 9 p.m. Eastern Time.